One of the most glorious moments in the history of Israel is when the Queen of Sheba came to visit King Solomon. And oh, was she impressed. It says, when the Queen of Sheba had observed all the wisdom of Solomon, the house that he had built. Now, he was a king, so technically that would have been his castle. The food at his table, the seating of his officials, and the attendance of his servants, their clothing, his valets. I never used to know what a valet was until I watched Downton Abbey. Now I know what a valet is. His valets and his burnt offerings that he offered at the house of the Lord. There was no more spirit in her. In other words, she was blown away. She was left breathless. She gasped at the grandeur, the splendor of King Solomon and all that, his entourage, all that surrounded him. And we understand that this prosperity of King Solomon came because he was a wise man. He asked God for wisdom. And these two, they typically go together. Wisdom makes a person prosperous. And the Lord wants us all to have wisdom. As a matter of fact, Scripture says, if you want wisdom, ask God for wisdom and He'll give it to you. So He wants us all to be wise, and He also, Scripture says, He wants us all to prosper. And, there's this thing, I call it Catholic prosperity gospel. I like to tell young people about it. Catholic prosperity gospel. You see, like Jesus said, what comes into the body, the foods, that doesn't defile a person. I tell young people, listen, if you become a millionaire and you have a nice house and a swimming pool and whatever, nice car, that's not going to defile you. People can be blessed with financial wealth and still be saints. And again, one of the things I teach is that if you are a wise, in other words, you've asked God for wisdom, you're trying to live according to wisdom. If you're a wise and virtuous person, which we're all called to virtue, you are likely to become wealthy. Why? Because a wise and virtuous person isn't lazy. I mean, everyone's lazy some of the time, but again, a wise and virtuous person is a hard worker. She makes the best of the gifts that the Lord has given to her. She's generous. She's not clinging to the things she has. She's generous with them. She doesn't waste her money on addictions or frivolous things. Maybe the odd frivolous thing, but just not blowing money on silly things. The wise and virtuous person is honest. It pays to be honest in the long run. A wise and virtuous person is a good and trusted worker, likely to get promotions and the raise that goes with that. And so again, if a young person chooses wisdom and works at cultivating virtue in his life, he's likely to have to deal with wealth realities in their life. It's just, again, a common reality. Again, it's not a guarantee. I know that, but it's something that is reality. And the thing is again, God, He does want us to prosper, Scripture says. And the principle is the Lord gives us goods of the earth so that we can use them. Not that they can use us. We own them. They don't own us. As a matter of fact, in the opening collect, we prayed that we may use, that's deliberate, use the good things that pass in such a way as to hold fast now to those that ever endure. And so the passing things of the world, we don't cling to those. We don't hold fast to them, but we use them. But the things of heaven, we hold fast to those. And the great tragedy in the life of King Solomon is he lost his wholeheartedness. Towards the end of his life, he turned his eyes away from the heavens, away from the Lord. But it's most important, and he turned his eyes to the things of the world. He lost his wholeheartedness for the Lord, and we know the tragedy that came from that. And so again, each one of us, we're called to follow the Lord. Now, I want to be clear. Worldly wealth, it's really not that important in the grand scheme of things. They say, if you have your health, you're a millionaire, okay? They say, if you have a close friend, whether it's a relative, family, or close friend, someone who you really love and they really love you, oh, you're a millionaire. They say, if you go through your day, you wake up in the morning and you're filled with the joy and the presence of the Lord, and you live in the presence of the Lord and you enjoy peace of soul, well, then you have everything. All that the Father has is yours. God dwells in your heart, and when you experience that, the things of this world pale in comparison. There's no, clinging to them because you have everything. And so, as Catholics, we do believe in a proper understanding of prosperity, the proper use of wealth, but we also understand the vanity, the passing nature of the things of this world. God alone is our true treasure.